I'm Amy McMorrow Hunter of the Climate Economy Education, Inc., a 501c3 nonprofit for education on business models and lifestyles that are good for the climate, economy, and humanity. And I'm really excited about our roundtable discussion tonight. We're supposed to have 6 presenters, and we might just have 5. I've only got 5 who have showed up here so far, but we're going to talk about local food and farms, and we should have plenty of time for questions at the end. I'm going to try to keep it, close to 6 to wrap it up. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, or we'll probably we'll have a little bit of time for 1 or 2 questions after each presenter, and then also hopefully we'll have some time at the end just for some general discussion. This is part of the All Together Now Southern Illinois campaign that's going on right now in Southern Illinois. So it's AllTogetherNowSI.com, and we just had some events this morning related to hydroponics. An organization in the Metro East, the Macedonia Development Corporation, is working with the St. Louis Indoor Produce Company for urban growing, urban hydroponics. And then we also had Monica from Green Our Planet, which has a whole K-5 STEM curriculum for hydroponic gardens or outdoor gardens in schools, which both of these things from this morning were just huge opportunities. I think what you guys are going to talk about this afternoon and evening is also going to be a huge opportunity. I'm going to try to keep this going every Tuesday at noon. We're going to be doing solar on Wednesday at noon, and so I figured we'll do this kind of stuff on Tuesday at noon, like a Zoom meeting. I'll have it up, I'll send it out to everybody so that we can keep going, keep up to date on what's happening in Southern Illinois, the new opportunities, the new jobs, the new whatever's happening, whatever we need to fix, all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to keep this discussion going every Tuesday at noon from now on. So, well, at least until, something happens. I don't know. So, okay, my apologies. I'm going to go ahead and let me just go through the rundown here of who our presenters are going to be. We're going to hear from Marissa Tipton from the Food Autonomy Group in Carbondale. Hopefully Marcella Woodson, Men of Power, Women of Strength, about the Cairo Community Gardens. Stephanie Taylor from Community Development Sustainable Solutions. Jennifer Paulson from FoodWorks. Molly Gleason from the Illinois Stewardship Alliance, and Shantanu from the Illinois Sustainable Technology Center. So with that, unless there's any questions before we get started, normally during the presentations, I will shut off my camera and my audio. So if everybody wants to do that, that's fine. And so now I will hand it off to Marilyn.
Hi. Okay, my name is Marissa Tipton, and I'm Vice President of the Carbondale Spring Food Autonomy. The Carbondale Spring Food Autonomy Initiative was formed in 2019 as a working group within the wider Carbondale Spring movement for transforming Carbondale into a leader in responding to the ecological, social, and economic challenges of our time. Carbondale Spring Food Autonomy is a network of neighborhood gardens, chicken coops, farms, nurseries, growers, medicine makers, chefs, gardeners working to build food and health autonomy for a better world. By food autonomy, we mean the creation of a healthy local system for growing and distributing food made available to all, with preferences for the most vulnerable to food insecurity, outside the barriers posed by both the market and government food assistance programs. In other words, we grow and distribute free food to those who need it in a sustainable way. Food autonomy is our solution to food insecurity and to the industrial agricultural system that is ecological destructive, leading to water pollution, soil destruction, and reliant on fossil fuels and fragile global distribution chains. It is a long-term goal, not something built in a year or two. Rather, it provides a strategic orientation, letting us name the kind of food systems we are trying to build. We have organized the sharing of resources and labor among several gardens. The Washington Street Garden, the Red Hen Garden operated by Women for Change, the Addicts Community Farm operated by Addicts Community Services, the Chestnut Street Teaching Garden, which is located by the Jackson County Housing Apartments on Chestnut Street, and the Birch Street Food Forest. We have also constructed 12 chicken coops, 10 inside Carbondale and 2 nearby. These coops and chickens were given free of charge to residents on the condition that the chickens were well cared for and the surplus eggs were distributed among neighbors. During the spring and summer of 2020, we were able to pay workers in these gardens in addition to coordinating a large volunteer base. Hundreds of pounds of food were distributed door to door to neighbors in the community. What was not distributed directly was donated to the Southern Illinois Collaborative Kitchen. The Southern Illinois Collaborative Kitchen provides meals each Saturday to the Warming Center, Addicts Community Services, and Women for Change to distribute to people that they know. Meals are also provided to community members for a small donation or free of charge. The Carbondale Spring Food Autonomy Initiative aims to build a resilient food safety net in Carbondale that can withstand disruptions to national and global food supply chains, provide healthy, fresh food to all, beginning with those most at risk for food insecurity. We educate our residents in skills for growing food and designing small-scale food systems. We create beautiful, COVID-safe, common garden spaces that improve the quality of life in Carbondale and create part-time, entry-level employment for residents who want to learn how to grow and garden. This year, we are going to have another garden where residents can have their own garden space, and we will teach them and guide them along the way to have and grow their own fresh vegetables.
Awesome.
And also in the chat,
oh yeah,
we have a short video that one of our ladies put together, Sarah Lewison. And if you want to take time and watch it later on, it's really nice. It actually shows our chicken coops in different backyards and gives you another aspect of our program. Questions?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Where are the garden spaces at, and how do you get a hold of somebody about those?
Okay. So we have one on Washington Street, and it is in the 100 block of North Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm making sure I have it's at the corner of Washington and Oak Street. We have the Red Hen Garden, which is on Larch Street, and our Birch Street Food Forest, and the new garden is going in on the corner of Chestnut and Birch and Robert Stalls. We have a website, Carbondale Spring Food Autonomy, and the Washington Street Garden also has a website, and information is there if you want to volunteer, get involved, if you're looking for a part-time employment, or you can email carbondalespring.com.
So I can find out the information about getting a personal plot.
Yes.
There. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, it's carbondalespring@gmail.com. I'm sorry.
Any other questions?
Yes. It sounds like you guys grow a lot in your gardens. My question is do you all preserve anything that you grow, or?
That is our plan. Because of COVID, we were unable to do so last summer.
Okay.
But that is our plan for the future, to learn people how to can and make different herbs and medicine and different tinctures.
Okay. All right. So y'all already have like water bath canners and all that good stuff?
We are working on grants to get equipment for that.
Okay. Okay. All right. I like all that old timey stuff. I live with grandmas and we've been doing that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Okay. I grew up on a farm myself.
Okay.
I just had a quick question. You said you had 12 coops?
Yes.
That's awesome. About how big is your flock in each one? What do you generally work with?
Okay, we have 6, we call them our girls. So we have, the city of Carbondale has rules and regulations. So we are only allowed to have 6 girls. We have Rhode Island Reds. I actually have a coop in my yard. So I get 5 to 6 eggs a day, and my neighbors love them. And the coop has to be a certain size if you're within the city of Carbondale.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you, Marilyn. And we may, hopefully we'll have some additional time at the end of the discussion if anybody else has any questions for you. Okay, so for now, we're going to skip right to Stephanie Taylor, Community Development Sustainable Solutions of East St. Louis.
Oh, okay. Will I be able to share screen?
You sure will.
Okay. Okay, I believe we've got it together now. Okay, I'm very happy to be here. My name is Stephanie Taylor of Community Development Sustainable Solutions. We're a 501c3 located in the heart of East St. Louis, Illinois at 4601 State Street, Suite 105B. Now, in our name says sustainable solutions because community development is smart, green, and we are sustainable. We started our urban agricultural experience because we thought it was really, really important to our community that we found a way that would help us to contribute back to the environment, to be conscious and prepare ourselves for global initiatives that were going to reach us on the community level. So again, we look for solutions that are smart, green, and sustainable. And most of all, they need to be equitable enough that there's something that we can all live with. Because CDS says we are transforming agents of change, and we provide programs and opportunities to further engage and educate our community in real solutions. We don't want to put Band-Aids on a problem. We want to provide a solution. And we thought that our urban agricultural experience would be a wonderful way to get our children together and teach them really that food doesn't grow on trees. So our mission is to provide smart, green, and sustainable solutions to create and sustain community development, job training, and mentoring, and events by partnering with citizens in the community, faith-based organizations, local, state, and federal governments, advocating for the voice and the spirit of our community. Right now, the voice and the spirit of our community is crippled because of the poisons that are in the ground, the toxins that are in our environment. So again, we are located here in East St. Louis, and we do our part to educate and engage people in things such as the census, letting them know about Juneteenth, and the importance of our Freedom Day. We spend time building capacity, holding community meetings, and working with the public, making sure our kids can get to Springfield to advocate for things like clean energy, clean jobs, working to stop the violence and the crime in our community. So more about the urban agricultural experience. Again, it was important that we showed our youth that food does not grow on trees. That's why it's called, does not come from cans, I'm sorry. And that is the reason why we call it a whole experience, because we like to immerse our kids in the process of planting, growing, picking it, and taking it home and putting it on their table. And we know that together we can help to decrease food deserts that are in our community. And we have a campaign right now called the Hug Today campaign, which is Help Us Grow Gardens. And you can also reach out and send us an email to figure out how it is that you can better get involved with our urban agricultural experience. And just switching over a bit, again, it's important that we find ways to connect our youth, just as you heard from the previous speaker, because it takes our whole community to understand the damages in our community. And CDSS, we are actively trying to gather partnerships. We need people that can help us learn more about farming and agriculture. We also need to gather needed capacity and resources to get that equipment as our garden continues to grow. Once we got in there as volunteers, we realized, hey, whoa, the potential to really help and support our community is there. The need definitely is there following COVID. So when we think about a clean start, we still have to think about some of the things that our other panelists are going to talk about, which is advocacy, and I'm part of the Sierra Club Kaskaskia group. When I think about advocating, because we have to have our ground and our soil tested. Right now we have raised gardens. So again, I'm going to stop sharing so that I can show my face here a bit. Okay. So I just really want people to understand, and I guess I wasn't showing my face, now I know, but I really want people to understand that this is something that takes all of us to be involved with. And I do spend my time advocating with Sierra Club Kaskaskia or United Congregations Metro East, because again, when I get into my advocacy groups, such as Moms Demand Action that's on the call now, we're talking about leads and whatnot that's in the environment. It's so important that we put fresh vegetables in the hands of those that are underserviced. And that's everybody in all communities. We have pockets of people that are worrying about where it is that they can get their food. So we're happy to provide the garden, because we found that as we drive up to maintain the garden, there are people that are on drugs, there are homeless people, and we're glad that we keep it open and free, because they're able to come in there and they find sometimes what may be their only sustenance for that day. So we're really looking forward to getting involved with the community climate SWAT, so that we can bring some of our local growers to the table and we can discuss ways of how we can work with our community after we take that SWOT analysis. Talking about food sustainability and the food deserts, and also what we stand to do with our environment in our garden, the way that it can clean the air and decrease greenhouse emissions. you know, and again, the way that we are able to share our community garden with those people who do need to eat. We want to find resources and ways that we can spread that out and develop that more and maybe get it to a point where it is a farmer's market. We're glad to hear about some of the things that are happening in our other environments and in our other communities. And we really are the heart of an underserved community. So we're really looking to bring some of those resources together that help us continue to test our water. In some of my advocacy groups, that is what we are doing. We're partnering with schools and testing the soil, because we can't just put our food down in any type of soil. You know, the educational opportunities and the mentorship, when we bring children into the garden setting, not only are they learning about gardening, but they're also able to work through their issues. So again, that support and that wraparound service as we continue to partner with other growers in our community to make this stronger, because we do need to develop ways and other outlets to reach our youth in the community. Okay, so again, I'm really looking forward to hearing from some of the other speakers when it comes to advocating, because right now we are looking and we're advocating for clean energy and clean jobs. Part of that is making sure that we do have clean soil and stopping them from polluting the air in our environment, stopping those people who can empower themselves by producing our own crop, but we have to make sure that the ground and the soil is not tainted in the process, and making sure that we're able to build that needed capacity by some of the constituency that's on the phone now. You know, come and help us support, maybe teach us, offer some classes, help us find some resources so we can offer stipends as we teach this. I'm really excited to see that this pipeline is being created, and we really want to be part of the pipeline and have our community benefit in the work that we do. So, and I just want to high five some of my constituents that are on the phone. Again, Indivisible, Metro East, and Moms Demand Action, because again, this is a holistic approach to change when we can come together and figure out what it is that we need to advocate for and where those funds are located so that we can come together. We have a parent mentor program and a paraprofessional program. All of these parents have babies, and all of them need and deserve the right to thrive in our community. And that comes with an equitable opportunity to grow crops, to learn how to grow crops, and also to receive those finances that help us bring in more and create outreach so that we can gain more support. I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. And again, thank you, teammates, for joining the call. And I look forward to any follow-up meetings that are created from this.
Thank you, Stephanie, so much for that information. And it just makes me think, I mean, I often feel when I'm doing these presentations that my audience could be considered privileged because, you know, we're all able to come to these meetings, you know, and it seems like the people that we're trying to help aren't always able to do these kinds of things. And so how do we bridge that gap? It seems like you have a lot of things going on where you have ways that you're working directly with everybody. And so how do all of us here in these meetings who are just, you know, we're looking for ways to bridge that gap. So can you give us any insight on that? Does that make any sense?
Absolutely, and I thought about that. You know, we're talking about a community that has settled on the outside of society that can really benefit from the support and the sustainability of growing their own food. And there are patches of us that do it in the community. I did put out the feelers to get more on the call, but I think, again, I was looking for you specifically to help lead us through that SWOT analysis,
Absolutely.
Amy. And again, I want to, the advocacy group that's on the call now, I want to link them up with our Sierra Club Kaskaskia group, because again, right now we're going for clean energy and clean jobs. Somewhere in the middle, we need to be talking about solutions while our state is about to receive this money. So again, if you are talking about being stewards, help us create these platforms so that it can be user-friendly for the youth in our community. If we have access to the school, we can definitely set up Zoom meetings, and we can also have in-person meetings. And again, I say without any hesitation, those in the Metro East that are on the call, I am sure that they would support in any way possible. I know Jessica said she has a green thumb, so I'm very excited about implementing Miss Jessica.
All right, so yeah, we need some boots on the ground, right? So I actually have, I was just sitting here thinking, I have a database of target actions where we can put things that people can do. So people can actually go and search according to their address or according to their interests, and to find, you know, volunteer activities that they can do. So working with your people, hopefully that are on this call tonight, we can come up with some things, some specific ways to get people more knowledgeable about ways that they can get involved and, like you said, being stewards and participating in those activities. So hopefully we can get that moving. I'm sorry, does anybody else have any questions for Stephanie right now? Kind of dominated the questions. Sorry. All right, well, stick around, Stephanie. You know, we'll have more to talk about once we get through the rest of our talks here. We got 3 more to go. So next, I'm going to introduce, thank you very much, Stephanie, again. And Jennifer Paulson, you ready? Go. Did we lose her? Does anybody see Jennifer? Okay, she must have.
No video, I mean, no audio.
Dang. Okay. Can you hear me now?
There she is. Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you. I thought you disappeared.
I did the classic mistake. I did double muting. It was a classic mistake. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Sorry. So anyway, I'm thrilled to be here with the folks that are here, because this is I don't know, it's great to have a chance to connect with the folks that are here. So thanks for having me. My name is Jennifer Paulson. I'm the Executive Director of FoodWorks. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to growing the sustainable food economy in Southern Illinois. So I have just a couple of slides, which I thought I had queued up. Where did they go? I'm gonna share my screen real quick and there we go. Okay. So we're a nonprofit dedicated to creating a sustainable food economy in Southern Illinois. And that's great and wonderful, but then people say, well, what does that actually mean? And so for FoodWorks, most of the work that we have done over our 13-year history falls into one of these 3 categories listed below. We do farming education and sustainable farming techniques, a range of topics that looks like field days and workshops, and it's looked a lot of things. Yeah, so we know we need farmers. That's incredibly important. We also need markets for those farmers to be selling their food if they're going to sustain a business, and also, of course, for customers to be accessing them. And then it all comes down to building healthy communities because, you know, we really know the link, and we know it more and more as climate change is affecting farmers. But, you know, we know the link between having well-grown food, what it means for our environment that we live in, you know, what it means for our communities to be able to access fresh, nutrient-dense food, and what that means for our economy. It all kind of wraps up together. So at the bottom of here, I kind of put some of our main programs because we've done quite a few things over the years, but these are our main programs at the moment, and I wanted to share a little bit about each of them. When it comes to helping to develop farmers, you know, we don't have food if we don't have farmers. We have two main programs. One is the Southern Illinois Farming Alliance, and that is a network of farmers using sustainable, organic, regenerative techniques to grow food, usually food, also fiber. This is open to really anyone who is growing food. It is focused towards farmers in business, but it includes a lot of folks who are just growing food that aren't necessarily having a business associated with it. They're growing food in kind of any capacity. So one really important thing we've learned about sustaining a farm business, because it's really a very challenging industry. The farmers we work with are, you know, they're faced by climate change, market pressures, but they're not receiving, you know, the federal subsidies that the really big guys are. We work with kind of small scale, adaptable farmers. And for long-term success, you really need to be having a network of people to help support you. And that can be anything from like, hey, what bugs are you dealing with this year and how are you dealing with it? To, you know, what are outlets for your foods? Where can you sell it? Or, you know, those kind of things. And just generally, farming can be an isolating business and a really challenging business when your identity is tied really closely to the food that you're growing. So just having a network of people who get it is incredibly important sometimes. So we do a variety of things. One of the things we do, if I can skip forward, there we go. One of the things that we do is field days, and I wanted to highlight this one in particular because I thought it might be of interest to this group. This was actually our first ever virtual field day. Usually we are, you know, people getting together in small groups to learn from each other. That's kind of what we do. But last spring, when we couldn't do that, we did this. And it was a really wonderful, informative field day. And there's a recording of it on our website. So I encourage you guys to check it out. Anyone who is growing food or curious about what climate change means for farmers. We had Trent Ford talking about the actual information, the data on climate change in Southern Illinois, and you can kind of think about that as I-64 and south. That's kind of our region. We had an organic farmer, Jill Rendelman, talking about what they are actually doing on their farm to mitigate the challenges of climate change, the extremes of weather. And then we had Amanda Penko from Prairie Rivers Network talking about policy and how people can get involved. So anyway, I encourage you to check that out. It's on our website if you're interested in these sort of things. Along with that, we do a program called Southern Illinois Farm Beginnings. And it's kind of what it sounds like. It's a program for entrepreneurial farmers who are just starting out, maybe have a couple years of business under their belt, or maybe just have a green thumb and are really thinking about how can they make a living doing something they love with, you know, hands in the dirt, kind of, so to speak. And so it's a program that combines classroom sessions on business and marketing. You know, things like how do you make a crop enterprise budget so you know if you're going to make money off of the investments you're making when you're planting something, you know, those kind of business sense and marketing sense. It has a mentorship component. We pair you with an existing established farmer who is usually a little bit outside your area so that there's not a conflict, you know, you're not competing businesses, but is growing food in the way you're growing, or growing the kinds of things, or marketing in the way you want to market, or whatever that connection might be. And then there's also on-farm field days, you know, hands-on programs. To date, I think we've graduated 36 farmers from this program. It's a small-scale program. We usually have anywhere from 2 to 8 farms per year working in the program. So it's really establishing kind of a long-term mentorship. I always tell our folks we're establishing a long-term relationship here, because you can't grow a farm in a day. And I want to plug this out. We are recruiting. Our next program will start in November, and we have a goal this year of being able of both expanding the program and providing more support for the beginning farmers that are coming into this program. It normally has a tuition tag to it. It's part of a national program, and ours is probably one of the cheapest in the country, but it still has a tuition tag, and so, or tagged with it. So we're going to try to fundraise enough to cover that tuition, and perhaps even create a stipend for farmers going through this program, because very few farmers have extra money lying around as they're getting started. So anyway, if you know anyone that, if you're interested, or you know anyone that might be interested,
We lost you, Jennifer. We lost your audio. Unless that's just me.
Nope, I can't hear Jennifer either.
Okay. Hey, Jennifer, can you hear me? I don't think we can't hear you. Can't hear you. Oh. This is like, I was just watching a cartoon with my kid recently, a kids movie, and there's a whole section where they're trying to video chat. It's like some space creatures. Can you hear me? But anyway, the space creatures have the whole, can you hear me? How do I do this? And it's funny. This is gonna be like a forever thing that we've all had to get used to.
I'm back on.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me? Sorry about that. I'm in a very rural place with terrible internet, so I usually run my audio through my phone. For some reason, it cut me off. It just cut the line off. So in the middle of it, I couldn't hear you guys. You couldn't hear me. I'm so sorry.
So I'm trying to.
Do I have a few left, or are we done?
The last thing I had written down here, that you're gonna start the program in November, that you want to both expand the program and provide more support for beginning farmers. So maybe go back to that.
Okay.
Part of it.
I'll go back quickly. So our goal, you know, in Farm Beginnings, we are trying to set beginning farmers off on a really good footing where they've got the knowledge they need, the networks they need to succeed. And so we know that a lot of farmers don't have much extra money lying around getting started. So we're, as an organization, right now working incredibly hard to fund that program to the point where we can waive tuition this coming year, and also potentially provide a stipend to our student farmers. And I don't know if I said this before or after I lost audio, but you know, we call it farm beginnings, but it's really, you know, we have young people coming in. We have people who are also in their second or maybe even their third career coming into this, or making a career change, or maybe even someone who's already been farming but making a change in their business model. So anyway, that's our hope. So if you are interested, or if you know anyone who might be interested, the first step is really just a conversation. We're a small program, so reach out by phone or email, or, you know, whatever works good for you. But we can talk more about what you're interested, or, you know, and what our program could offer and that kind of thing. So please reach out, and anyway, it's one of my favorite programs. It's just beautiful to see beginning farmers. So market development is a big part of what we do too, because we need to have, farmers need places to sell their food, communities need places to access it. So that's looked like a lot of things. You know, we've helped in the development of several farmers markets along the way. We've also helped in the development of now an independent business called the Leaf Food Hub, which is kind of like an online farmers market in the Carbondale area. But we also have done one of our big programs right now has just finished up, and that's the Carbondale Community Farmers Market, which is a winter season farmers market. We're open December through March. And this is incredibly important. You know, first of all, it's amazing farmers in Southern Illinois can grow food year round. They have some challenges, like right now it's getting kind of cold out there. So I know a lot of people are scrambling to cover up their new seedlings and that kind of thing. But anyway, it's important outlet for farmers. It's also really important because it's the only consistent winter farmers market in the area. We've had a few others kind of pop up here. This one has been going now for, I'm going to say, about 5 years. And it's also the only place in Southern Illinois that offers the SNAP and Link Match program in the wintertime. We facilitate that program at several other farmers markets through the summertime. We've just started the program this season. No, the season is just opened for for the Hump Day Farmers Market in Carbondale on Wednesdays. We also, in next month, will be starting up as the season opens up at the Benton Farmers Market and the West Frankfort Farmers Market. So the SNAP and Link Match program is a way for folks who receive SNAP to use those food dollars at the farmers market. And then the Link Match part of it is a double coupon program. So it matches what somebody spends with their Link card, which is how people receive SNAP in Illinois. So we match dollar for dollar what folks spend. So if someone spends $10 in SNAP at the farmer's market, we give them $10 in coupons for free fruits and vegetables. So someone is essentially doubling their food dollar at the farmer's market. And they're getting often more nutritious food. You know, we sell really nutrient dense, fresh, healthy foods often. And it's also a way for someone to be supporting their local food economy. And so folks can get up to $25 in free fruits and vegetables at every farmer's market they visit. So we usually say that's once a week, but if you were smart and you wanted to visit 4 farmers markets a week, you know, you could do that too. So anyway, I'm sure I've been going on for a long time. But I'm really, like I said, I'm really excited to hear the things that are going on here, and really hoping to connect with folks maybe over a couple of these things. If anyone knows a farmer's market that might be interested in SNAP and Link Match, let's talk. If you know potentially a beginning farmer, let's talk. And if you want to do some kind of collaboration on a field day or anything kind of in person about sustainable growing, let's talk about that, because that falls under our Farming Alliance too, and we love to collaborate with folks to make those happen. So I'll stop now.
Thank you, Jennifer. great information. I was just thinking, so if we have the big farmers market in Carbondale every Saturday now, so would it make more sense to like have additional farmers markets in different places around Southern Illinois the same day? Or okay, so we can obviously have them on different days, but why am I thinking like a shuttle bus between towns, like from that don't have a farmers market or that that can't make it to Carbondale? I mean, is there some way we can get more people to like the Carbondale one, or is there some way we can have more farmers markets at more locations, or like what would be the best way to do that?
Mm-hmm. It's a challenge. My sense would be that you know, if you're talking about a radius around Carbondale, then getting folks to that Saturday Carbondale market would be really good. There's also a Wednesday Carbondale market now, so you know, if Saturdays aren't good for folks, you know, that might be a better day. But then kind of outside that radius, and we'd have to maybe think about what a good radius would be, but you know, outside of that, then it makes sense to me to have more farmers markets in more places. You know, one of the things we've worked on and would like to more in the future is working with community groups to help get the folks that they serve to the farmers market. You know, so a shuttle would be great, but in the meantime, you know, if churches or other faith groups or other community groups, you know folks who would want to take advantage of this program, I think, you know, starting off by just saying, let's carpool, or, you know, and as, you know, as we kind of loosen up from, I think that's more of a possibility. But, you know, that's my sense. I'm also going to say, long-winded answer to you, that, that I think there's huge potential in something like the Leaf Food Hub, where folks are ordering their food online and then picking it up, or, you know, or they can pay a fee to have it delivered if they want. It doesn't serve everybody. You know, there are definitely some barriers there, but it also is a way to, you know, if you're a busy person or you're the family and you need to know what food you're getting because you're planning meals or whatever, you know, that's a way to know minimum 4 days in advance, or maybe minimum 3 days in advance, what food you're going to actually have on that day. You know, that's something I hear from people sometimes, is that they're not sure, because the farmers market is, you know, there's a lot of things going on there. You know, and so sometimes you get there a little late and the thing that you really wanted is sold out, or, you know, whatever. So I think there's huge potential in that model too, if we can kind of overcome some of the access barriers.
Okay. Any other quick questions for Jennifer before we go to the next? All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. All right, now we are going to hear from Molly Gleason of the Illinois Stewardship Alliance.
Hey everyone, good to be here tonight. Thank you so much. I did a little, probably too long of an intro earlier, but I will just kind of retouch on what I said. So Illinois Stewardship Alliance is a statewide nonprofit organization, and we are an alliance of farmers and eaters, and we work together to solve problems in the food system. And I won't touch too much on what those problems are, because the folks before me did such a great job of laying those out. Marilyn and Stephanie and Jennifer were just so eloquent on the problems facing the industrial food system and how that impacts communities in terms of health and economy and environment. So I guess what I'd like to talk about today is what we do about it and how the Alliance works to address those issues. So as I said, most of the work that we do is around policy, and the way that we shape policy in the Alliance is through two different programs at this moment. We have a local food farmers caucus, which is made up of farmers across Illinois who are essentially local food farmers. They are small, diversified fruit and vegetable farmers and livestock farmers. Many of them are, you know, on 10 acres or less, and they're selling, most of them are selling directly through farmers markets and CSAs, and they are, their goal really is to help Illinois farmers feed Illinois. So 95% of the food in Illinois is imported from out of state, and that's a huge problem for food resilient, like for the resilience of Illinois and our communities, and our local economy. And so we want to help Illinois farmers feed Illinois and make us more resilient down the line. And so that group works on policies to kind of help address that issue. And so how it works is we bring farmers together, they talk about their issues. I think Jennifer was saying, earlier that farming can be a somewhat isolating kind of profession. And a lot of time farmers work together and they don't realize that the issue that they're experiencing is the same issue that their neighbor is experiencing down the line. So our goal really is to bring farmers together, talk about some of the issues they're facing, and then to think about what could be some possible solutions. Because we know if we can just name the pressures that we're facing, like a lot of times those pressures are coming from higher up. And if we can name the pressures, then we can start thinking about what the solutions are and how we address those solutions. So this year, the farmers in our caucus, one of the main things that they wanted to work on was around cottage food law. And so somebody earlier was asking about preserving and canning. And so that's essentially what cottage foods are. They're foods that are made in a home kitchen, like jams and jellies and pickles and hot sauces. They're, essentially very safe foods. And they are sold at farmers markets. And one of the big issues for the farmers in our caucus right now, and for many home bakers and other folks across the state, is that the sales are limited to farmers markets. They can only sell their products, their cottage food products, at a farmer's market or on the farm that they live on. So that's a problem because many farmers markets are seasonal. There are folks who have weekend work, like working moms or other folks with weekend work. They can't always make a farmer's market fit into their schedule. In rural, Southern Illinois, there's probably not a farmer's market in every community. So it becomes a real challenge to have that limitation just at farmer's markets. So we're working to expand sales avenues to include all direct to customer sales avenues. So that means that, farmers and cottage food producers and home bakers would be able to sell their products at a fair or festival. They'd be able to sell it from their home. They'd be able to deliver it, and they'd even be able to ship it online within the state. So that's our primary issue for 2021. If you're interested in advocating for it, it is running up against some opposition from county health departments. So we are, and just for your knowledge, the opposition is mostly based on principle. The health departments don't always love the expansion of foods that they consider not safe, but there have been no illnesses traced to cottage food in Illinois since the first cottage food law in 2012 or nationally, so we consider them to be very safe. There is a warning label on all cottage food products. Cottage food producers have to go through a food safety course, so there are food safety provisions in place for cottage food producers. But that bill will hit the Senate floor this week. So if you have a chance to call your senator and tell them to support that bill, if you want to see more opportunities for farmers and home canners, and bread makers and all kinds of great local food in Illinois, call your senator and tell them to support SB 2007. And I will drop that into the chat in a little bit, but just put that on your radar. So the other caucus that we have going on is called our Soil Health Caucus, and that is farmers that really care about soil health practices and climate resilience and conservation. And many of the farmers in that group are larger commodity farmers, but they're farmers who really care about making sure that they're doing things in the right way and they're trying to add more conservation practices to the land. And it's our belief that we should help, as a Stewardship Alliance, it's our belief that we should help farmers be good stewards of the land, and we should, we want them to earn a good living doing things that are in line with stewardship and conservation are going to benefit us all down the line in terms of a thriving environment. So we're working on this year. We're working on just a couple policies that are kind of in line with that. Mostly we're doing appropriations work this year, which is a fancy term for funding. So we're trying to get funding for a couple of different programs that will help farmers put conservation practices on the land. So the big bill that we're talking about is, it's called the Illinois Partners for Nutrient Loss. And I'm just going to screen share here real quick so you can see what I'm talking about. Just 1 second. Let me get the right board up here. Because this one is just a little bit longer, and I just want to have you can read it as I'm going along. And ignore this first thing here. Let's see. Okay, so this is SB 2474. Like I said, it's called the Illinois Partners for Nutrient Loss Reduction Act. And basically what it is there's this giant fund that's existed for a while called the Partners for Conservation Fund. And for some weird reason, this fund expires this year, it sunsets. And so we need to make sure that we keep this fund going. And we'd actually like to add more money to this fund in order to help support farmers. Much of the funding in this fund is for cost share programs. Much of it can be eligible for a federal match as well. So, you know, if Illinois continues to do these kind of conservation program funding, then we can actually even draw down some federal funds to help farmers continue to add more of these conservation practices. So we don't want to lose this fund. We want to keep it going, and we actually want to even add some more funding to it. So just an example of one of the programs here. One of the big programs is called the Fall Covers for Spring Savings Program. And I don't know if folks on the line are familiar with cover crops, but they're the crops that you plant after your corn or soybeans, or even after your garden. If you're a home gardener, you can do this too. But it keeps the soil green over essentially over the winter. So there's something living growing in the soil, keeping the soil in place, adding more organic matter, holding on to that soil just so it doesn't erode. And so cover crops are a really important conservation tool. And there's this program that gives farmers a $5 cover crop reward for every acre that they plant in cover crops. So it helps them afford to plant those conservation tools. This year, there were 50,000. We have enough funding in the program to cover 50,000 acres in cover crops in Illinois, but 180,000 acres were applied for. So there's a huge demand among farmers that want to see this program and want to help, want to cover more acres in cover crops. And we were asking for more funding for that. The other programs or policies that we're asking for, another request is the appropriations for a SNAP match bill, or SNAP match program at farmers markets. And so I think that Southern Illinois has SNAP match programs at farmers markets. Maybe Jennifer can chime in if I'm wrong about that.
We do. But we've got it at 4 markets this summer.
Yeah, that's great. So a lot of farmers markets already have these programs, and they're really great. What they do is they allow SNAP customers, low-income shoppers, to come to a farmers market, swipe their EBT card for $25, and they get matched to use another $25 on fresh fruits and vegetables. So it doubles the purchasing power of low-income shoppers to afford fresh fruits and vegetables for their family, but it also incentivizes them to shop at farmers markets. So they're putting more of those federal SNAP dollars back into the pockets of family farmers instead of big box stores that are headquartered out of state. So what we're asking for is a $500,000 appropriation to create a statewide fund so that more farmers markets can either start or increase their SNAP match programs at their farmers markets. We think that every farmers market and every community that has a farmers market in Illinois should be offering this program, but most of the programs right now that exist are privately funded. It takes a lot of staff capacity to either raise those funds or to get the grants for those funds. And we think a statewide investment would really help make it more equitable for more farmers markets across the state to offer this to their communities. And so if Illinois gets a $500,000 appropriations, if we get this into the budget, again, it's one of those things where we can also then apply for a federal match, which would bring another $500,000 into the state. So it's kind of, neutral in terms of funding, but that would create a $1 million fund for farmers markets, and that would go directly to being invested with SNAP customers and Illinois farmers. So that's one of the other big programs that we're asking for. We've actually been working on this for 5 years, but it's really hard to get an appropriations passed in Illinois because of our budget crisis. But this is really like the year to do it, because we know that there are more folks because of the pandemic that are using SNAP dollars, and we know that there's more aid flowing to SNAP families as well, and we want to make sure we're channeling that that federal SNAP aid also into these farmers markets and family farms as well. Okay, so that was one, and then the last one is a resolution, and this is what we're trying to do is create. I'll just backtrack a little bit. So essentially, what we would like to see happen in Illinois is for Illinois to start the state, like in terms of institutions and schools and other state procurements, to shift their procurement policy towards local, fair, healthy, humane, sustainable farms and businesses in Illinois. So we don't want Illinois to just procure food based on the lowest price bid. We want Illinois to procure food from Illinois farms and based on these 5 different values of local, fair, healthy, humane, and sustainable. And so the city of Chicago has done this thing where they've passed a good food purchasing policy. And that essentially means like they're already working with institutions in the city of Chicago to do this, kind of shifting their procurement policies towards these 5 values. And we are thinking this would be a great thing that the state of Illinois could do. And so we're working with a coalition of organizations to work on this, idea of what it would look like for Illinois to start shifting our procurement. And so we've introduced a bill that will create a task force that will start exploring what this would look like. So we'll create a task force of state agencies to basically try to come up with an accounting of what our current procurement policy is and how much we're procuring locally, and then what supply there is from local farms that we could be shifting to supporting local farms. So hopefully at the end of the year, that task force would make a recommendation about what actual good food purchasing policy legislation would look like. And if you're trying to wrap your mind around this, essentially what we want to happen is we want schools, to purchase from local farms in their area. We want prisons to purchase from local farms. We want all these other places where Illinois could be investing in Illinois farms to start making those kinds of investments. So it's better for, for kids and communities alike. So those are the kind of the 4 big policies on our agenda. We actually have some other sign-on support. So the sign-on support means we definitely support these issues. You can read about them right there. We're not the leads on them, but we do what we can to keep our folks updated on what's happening with these issues. Okay, so I've talked a lot. I'm going to wrap it up. So if you're interested in helping to shape policy in Illinois, and you are really interested in even down to drafting bills and determining what policies we should put forward next year, we have those 2 different caucuses that's really where we start kind of identifying those issues and shaping those policies. If you are an eater and not a farmer, and you're interested in supporting policies, get on our newsletter list, because that's where we keep folks updated on the policies. We do lots of events with our eater members throughout the year to try to help folks understand the issues and get involved with the issues. We do tons of legislative work. Like I said, we were doing with Jennifer earlier, that before we got started, we're doing our Food to Farm Week of Action this year, this week. Actually, it's happening right now, where we bring farmers and eaters together to talk to their legislators about the issues. Our focus is really on building leadership among our members and helping our members be their own voice on their issues. And so the Alliance is kind of there in the background. We'll help you out, we'll support you, we'll prepare you for your meetings, but we want to help our members be their own champions on their issues, rather than us advocating on your behalf. We want you to learn how to advocate for yourselves. So that's really the mission of our organization. And if you have any questions, let me know.
I do have a statement. I think the work that you're doing is very important. I wanted to kind of bring that home with the definition here. A city is a large human settlement. It can be defined as a permanent and densely settled place. Urban areas, as a rule, cannot produce their own food. That's scary. So as a pillar of excellence in the state and one who fights for equity, you see these underserved communities and what that looks like when you are at the mercy of the government or small liquor stores providing your food. So thank you very much. And yes, we are interested in partnering and advocacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that definition is I think that cities can feed themselves, especially through the urban agriculture work that many of your organizations are doing. So that maybe that definition needs to change.
Well, yeah, that's weird. I've never heard that before. So we're gonna have to look into that some more. But I see that Stephanie has her hand up, so I wanted to give her a chance.
Oh no, that was me. That was me already. I'll take it down. Sorry.
Stephanie, you don't have a question?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Not two questions, just one. Okay. All right. Any other questions at the moment? We will go ahead and move on to our last presentation. Shantanu, hi, from the Illinois Sustainable Technology Center. And we did start a few minutes late. We have exactly the amount of time we're supposed to have for Shantanu to finish his presentation, but we did start about 5 or 10 minutes late. So everybody who can stay, please stay, and we'll finish up with some questions for Shantanu, and because we definitely want to hear what he has to say, because he's got some interesting stuff here. So here we go.
Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
You see my slides, right?
Yes.
That's what you see?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. So yeah, I'm Shantanu. I'm going to try and keep it brief. I work for the Illinois Sustainable Technology Center. We're part of the University of Illinois. I primarily work in the Chicago region, but we've got 40 individuals across the state that work across all kinds of spaces. Before I get into what I want to talk about, just a little bit of background on how we work. So we do individual engagements where we've got a problem, we come in, we try to work together. We've got project-based engagement where we come together and find problems that many people are facing and we solve them together. And then the other way we work in these complex worlds that we live in is through coalition engagement, right? So this is a way where I don't know all the answers, you don't know all the answers, but together we can find what these answers are. And I took out 15 slides because everybody before me has talked about what the problems are and why we need coalitions to come together. Also, if you can't understand what I'm saying because of my accent or the speed I'm going with, put it in the chat window. Problem is I'll have to repeat it in the same accent, so I might just type it over. So what we're doing in this project is connecting food that's grown in Illinois to food banks, right? The definition of a food bank for this conversation and this project is fairly large. We're talking about food banks that are food banks, but then also all institutions that serve, that are served by food banks or serve people that are food insecure. And if you think of that relationship, I think you've heard of that complexity throughout the last 5 presenters, right? Connecting food that is grown in Illinois to food banks in Illinois reduces the distances between food and as Molly just mentioned, eaters and growers, right? That distance is reduced. As we heard in the first 2 presentations, there's an equity component of food, of eaters and growers, and those today are not mutually exclusive. There's also a climate component of doing all of this together. And there's also the idea of not recreating the wheel. Farm to food bank programs exist outside of Illinois. Other states have done it, but they've got to be locally relevant. The point of having local systems exist is being able to locally justify them in our own spaces. So the coalition we built is funded by the Feeding Illinois, the Illinois Farm Bureau, the Illinois Specialty Crop Growers Association, and then ISTC, or the University of Illinois, is doing that work. But this is just I want to use the word buttresses of a large building, right? They hold the structure together so that people can come within it and find the solutions we need to. We're institutions that don't leave very often, which also means that we're here to stay, which is the benefit of being part of the university. But that's the idea. The idea is to do a feasibility study in the next 16 months, or now we're left with 12 months, to review programs in other states, identify the logistical and operational challenges, identify economic opportunities and challenges, uncover locally appropriate strategies, and then finally pilot and evaluate strategies that could come together to create a roadmap for the state to implement. So as part of that process, the one thing I do want to talk about is how that works, right? So knowing what has worked in other states is important to create some kind of framework, and that's what we're doing in the back end. Identifying best practices, key challenges, pinch points, performance indicators, and stakeholders. This is the boring part, or what I call the banal existence of a research institution, right? To make sure that all our ducks in a row. And once our ducks in a row, what we want to do is understand what might work here, right? What has worked elsewhere just provides us the canvas we have to work with, but what might work in Illinois is something we have to ask Illinois. And that means asking all of you and everybody you work with and everybody else that we can't reach right now. So we have the Farm to Food Bank survey. I'll put the link in the chat. If you have an institution or organization that can help promote that survey for us, that would be paramount, critical, and highly useful. Once we're done collecting and collating that information, we'll have focus groups. We plan to have at least 15 focus groups across the state, 1 in every food bank region to start with, and then more as we need them. And then finally actually pilot these relationships. My staff and I were in Southern Illinois last week in Union County figuring out which orchards we can work with to do this kind of implementation. So we're committed to actually doing on-the-ground implementations of connecting growers to food banks, pantries in that space. The timeline we're in allows us to do at least 2 growing seasons. So this growing season, we're just testing stuff out. Next growing season, we'll try and grow it more. Again, here's the survey. I'll put it in the chat window. It's Farm to Food Bank Survey, and it's Go Illinois. It should take no more than 10 to 15 minutes. We're asking 5 broad spaced questions. understanding current practices, market channels you currently use, alternatives that you already have access to, how you market the product, and what your farm to food bank experience has been. Understanding all of those factors allows us to predict, or at least understand, the volume of food that's surplus and where it is. Having that information will allow us to create a better understanding of what the scale and scope of our farm to food bank program needs to look like. Again, if I haven't said it once, I'll say it 4 times. Please take our survey. It's really something we want to do. And then again, what happens next? Once we're done with the survey, focus groups, more information in March. We're now in April. I want to be honest about it. We're 3 months behind because the pandemic slowed us out, but I don't want to change the numbers. We're starting pilots this month. That's what we've done for the last few weeks. And then the feasibility report should be out maybe in July, is what we're hoping. If not later by December. Depends on how much we get through. And it's 5:58. I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. I'm happy to take questions, but that's where we're at.
Thank you, Shantanu. That sounds awesome. I just wanted to ask real quick, what exactly is the feasibility study going to show again? It's for food banks.
So I'll share my screen, so we're looking at the same thing. The feasibility study is supposed to uncover what program channels would work, right? So the roadmap for a effective statewide farm to food bank program. And to be perfectly honest, there isn't one program that worked in any state. Every state has a hodgepodge of different things that have evolved. We get the benefit of hindsight. So we're working on what does a complete program look like. So it might be multiple programs put together that makes one real program, and which parts of those are feasible now versus which parts of them are feasible later.
So this is another huge potential channel for farmers, basically.
Yes, and that's what it's been in states like Kentucky. Correct. In states like Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, that's what this has served as another viable market channel for farmers to interact with.
So do you have any knowledge yet as to, are there communities in Illinois that are using any of these models yet? Or is it still totally new to Illinois? The farm to food?
No, farmers interact with their local pantries, and we heard examples of them early on, right? So there's agencies that food banks provide services to that farmers already engage with. Mm-hmm. Across the state. Every food bank we've talked to in Illinois has a relationship with at least one farmer. There's at least 4,000 farmers. Operationalizing that across the space is what this does. And that's what we're doing right now. We're finding best practices that farmers and food banks have and trying to replicate that. This isn't new, this isn't different. This isn't going to be standardized, right? It's just going to be expanded. Mm-hmm. Nothing I do is new.
We're just going to make it better.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I don't even make things better as much as I just make them visible sometimes, mm-hmm. and that just makes them expand organically. I have the
super important, yeah.
The luxury of doing very little and being really awesome at it. So no, but that's the work we're hoping to do is really spread that through the state.
Okay, so we got to get that survey filled out. Do you have any, you said you talked to some farmers in Union County. Are any other farmers you know of, can they get involved or
Yes, yeah. The farmers can take the survey. If they don't want to take the survey and they just want to call me, they can also do that. If they'd like to talk to somebody else in my staff, they can also do that. Whatever I'm happy to meet them wherever they would like to be met. And if that means getting on the road and meeting them in their farm, I know how to drive.
Great. Does anybody
Okay,
have?
and then what about like Clinton County, St. Clair County, Monroe? You have any out there?
I have about 102 respondents. I would like more from all of those counties as well. We're working with every county's extension team and Farm Bureau to get some of these surveys out. But we're across this. We drove from St. Louis to the Indiana border last week, visiting a bunch of farms and a bunch of farmers and food banks. So we're out there. We want to be more. We want to be there more. It was in Vienna, Illinois. Yeah, the best thing you can do, and this is for everybody, is invite me to your towns now rather than later. Because it's hard for me to just go uninvited. It's a relationship I'm not willing to jeopardize. These are local relationships you all have built. I don't want to step on anyone's toes. Relationships takes time. So I'm happy to help, and I'm also happy to step away if I don't need to help. And that's something you're going to have to tell me in your local communities.
Great.
I just have a quick question. I'm just trying to understand how that works, because I'm fresh to this. So how does does the food bank pay the farmers for the food, or is it, how does that work? How does the farmer make money off of that? I think of a food bank, you donate food to the food bank, and so
yes.
I just can't understand how it works.
Right, and so it works in very different ways. Some farmers do donate some of their produce that they can't sell for various reasons. Farmers buy, food banks buy produce from farmers as well. And then there is a combination of that, right? So some food banks will pay for the picking and packing costs, and then the farmer donates the actual produce. And then there's tax benefits and tax costs that are across the space. So there's different ways that can work. I really want to understand how it might work best for what situation. So some states buy it for food banks. Some states have tax credits. We don't have a standardized process. Was that a non-answer, Cindy? I'm really sorry.
No, that was helpful. That was helpful. I'm trying to wrap my head around how that would work, and I understand it varies, but there's various ways. So that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yep. And to be honest, I'm open to this morning I had a conversation that I'm going to talk to Jennifer about later today, later tomorrow, maybe not today, it's 6 o'clock. The idea of having large farmers donate small plots where somebody else can come in and try their entrepreneurial skills and then donate that to food banks, right? And then we come in and use that as a training education program. The luxury of being in the middle of something and have no power is you can think of any solution. And that's what I'm doing right now. So Cindy, anything's on the table. If you have a better idea, email me and we can give you credit for it and try it out.
That's so great. Jennifer, did you?
I have a question for you. Yeah. So we've been at FoodWorks, we've been promoting your survey also because we really want to make sure that like Southern Illinois has this really growing movement of small scale entrepreneurial farms. And I really want to get those kind of farmers' voice into your survey because they often are overlooked by government programs, and they just aren't, they can't on their own contribute enough, but when you get a bunch of them together, they do. So I guess I wondered, I have to admit, I haven't actually looked at your survey. I'm sorry. I'm not a grower myself, so I just passed it on. But are you collecting data on the kinds of farmers that you're getting information back from?
So yes and no. There's a reason for not collecting that information. I wanted to have the farmer feel safe in providing information. What we're collecting is a size of farm,
Okay.
county they grow in, and the level of diversity they have in their crops. And from that, I can intuit a couple of things, right? If you're a small farm and you're growing 15 things, versus if you're a medium farm and you're growing 2 things, there's information there that we know we can glean out. So that's the kind of information we're getting. We're not asking how long you farmed, your name, none of that information that people might not want to share. And then we're asking them basic demographic information of if they're a women-owned business, a minority-owned business, or a veteran-owned business, just to know what kind, as a control for my oversampling.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's talk tomorrow.
Yes. Just emailed Regella saying we should talk to Jennifer. Yeah. I do want to put a caveat though, and something that I've been thinking about this morning as well is this doesn't solve everything. Right? Farm to Food Bank, the way this program will eventually look like, scale is going to be paramount to be able to be cost effective. So there might be other programs that help more farmers get into this kind of work. So while people are engaging with this in different places, all the critique you can come up with for me would also be helpful. So while we're presenting, and I hope if you're interested to follow this work, if you feel like your voices aren't being heard or being recognized, the only way I know that, unfortunately today, is when you tell me. And then we can negotiate that in a way that is meaningful and appropriate. I didn't grow up here. I work here, so that would be helpful for me to get some context. So that's the program. We're here to stay. We're happy to hear from you. And I'm sorry I went over.
Thank you. No, that's okay. Okay, I think we're gonna call it there. Thank you, Shantanu. And I just want to say real quick, so I'm gonna send out this video to everybody and the chat. And like I said, we're gonna be doing this every Tuesday. I'm just gonna tell you real quick the next events. So tomorrow at 4 o'clock, we have James Ehrlich for Regen Villages, which is this awesome model for developing whole communities that are self-sufficient. And then on Friday, we have Tim Michaels from Energy Resources Group. He's going to give a whole community plan for energy efficiency and renewable energy jobs. Oh, and also tomorrow, we also have the solar meeting at noon. So solar meeting at noon tomorrow, Regen Villages at 4 tomorrow. Thursday's Earth Day. Have a great Earth Day. Go outside, enjoy Mother Earth. And then Friday, Tim Michaels for energy efficiency and renewable energy. And then next week, Tuesday, so a week from today at noon, is Paul Anderson, and he's gonna be talking about biochar, and I'm hopefully gonna get someone to talk about local carbon networks, who can talk about that, or else I might have to talk about it myself. So, so just everybody, ton of information today. So awesome, so great. Thank you for all the presentations and all the information. And we're gonna keep moving forward with this. Like I said, after next Tuesday's meeting, we're gonna keep this going every Tuesday at noon so we can make sure everybody knows what's going on all the time in this stuff. And I don't know what else to say. I just wanna say thank you so much for all the great information, and I'll keep in touch. And if you have anything you need to ask me or anything else, just email me and let me know. Anything else I should do before I let everybody go?
Thanks, Amy. Thanks for organizing all these folks coming together.
Yes, you're welcome. It was, I mean, my head is
Wonderful,
just
wonderful.
exploding with all the information. It's really great to know. So I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to starting some new stuff out of this. So
I know I pledge to stay connected when you send me emails, Amy.
thank you, Stephanie.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks, all the attendees.